Welcome to the All Things Admin AdminTech Crash Course. My name is Suzanne Bird-Harris. On behalf of the All Things Admin team, welcome. We are excited to have all of you joining us for today's presentation. The AdminTech Crash Course is a technology-focused training program for busy professionals. Our goal with each session is to create a crash course on the relevant technology topics you need to stay current on the technology and software you use each day so you can be more productive and proficient in everything you do. Let me introduce today's webinar. Take your mail merge to the next level. This is part 2 of a 2-part series we started last week. And it's presented by one of our favorite technology instructors, Donna Gilliland of Most Training. Donna's career in technology began back when DOS was the king of computer operating systems for the personal computer. Floppies were actually still floppy, and the internet had just begun to explode. At that time in her career, there were no training companies. You either learned it on your own or went back to school to learn it, and Donna did both. Donna's career in the corporate world started as an executive assistant. She worked in a programming department supporting a staff of programmers and the VP of IT, but that was just the beginning. Over time, she realized that she had an aptitude for learning software technologies and the ability to communicate to others in terms that all could understand. Her love of helping people, business, and technology made a great fit for her future career in training. Today, Donna is an award-winning technology instructor, certified technology trainer, and president of Most Training. Please join me in a warm welcome for Donna Gilliland. Good morning, Donna, or afternoon.
I know it. It's for me, it's good afternoon. It could be good morning for someone else, and it might be good evening for all the others.
Yep.
But either way, we're all together. All right, here we go. I'll show my screen. And as said moments ago, this is part 2, a continuation of last week. Now, if you didn't attend last week, we're going to assume that you know the basics of performing mail merges, and we're going to take it up a level with what we learned today. So now I have placed on my screen one of the documents that's in your handout or a page from it. I just want to go over a quick review of terminology because you're going to hear it again today, and hopefully you've read what the training objectives are for today. So let me go ahead and go through this very quickly. The screen you're seeing is a quick review from part 1, which goes over the 5 steps that are needed to complete a merge. And step 1 is we have to have a main document, and we will today, which could be a letter. Second is that there has to be a source for where you get your names and addresses, which is what Microsoft calls the data source, which could be an Access database. It could be a list from a table in Word or Excel. We will be working with Excel and a database today. The third part of a merge is we have to plug in the fields from that source file that has the names and addresses and city and state and other field particulars that hold content that we want to become part of what we merge. And then the fourth step in a merge is after we've done all those things, connected to the 2 documents, put in the associated merge fields, then we have to preview the connecting of those 2 files together, preview the merge to see if everything is merging the way that we think it's supposed to be. And then if everything looks good, we're ready to complete the merge. So now you've gotten that quick review of the 5 steps that are involved in the process. And as far as today is concerned, we're focusing on mail merging from an Excel spreadsheet, addressing issues that can happen with an Excel spreadsheet data. For example, if you have an Excel spreadsheet you're merging from, just getting your mind set up for today, and I'll go ahead and switch over to an Excel file. Here I am in Excel file. As you can see, the numbers for salaries, they're all formatted for currency. Well, if you were using this spreadsheet as your source list to get the names and addresses, and maybe within that letter you're going to write a personal note that says your salary for 2015 is now, and then you would plug in the salary field. Well, the problem that can happen with utilizing information in a merge from Excel occurs in places such as numeric fields, because Excel stores information in what is termed as raw data, which means the formatting doesn't come over with it. Other areas that can be problematic, although I'm going to show you how you can get around the fact that Excel isn't bringing over the formatting for, say, the numbers like the salary. Then another issue that can happen are, for example, with zip codes or any kind of number that you may have to format it as text. So if you needed to format a number for it to be viewed as text, if it's not coming over correctly, first try and see if everything is connecting the right way, everything's flowing over correctly. But if you did need to format for text, it'd be a matter of selecting those cells in Excel, and you can get into the formatting from the home ribbon in the number group, in the using the small arrow in the lower right corner. But if you're like me, I like to right click everywhere I go, so you can always just right click an area that you want to format and choose Format Cells, and you'll wind up in the same dialog box that you would have gotten had you clicked the small arrow in the lower right corner of the number group. It's called the dialog box launcher, and this would be the dialog box you would get. So if you ever need to format numbers to be viewed upon as text, then from the number group you can come here and choose text, and then those cells, those numbers would be treated as text. So that's one resolve if, say, zip codes are giving problems, especially if you have numbers where there are preceding zeros. All right, so those are a few caveats for you about working with Excel spreadsheet. You'll see more about that coming soon. So we will be working with Excel spreadsheets as our data source. And you're also going to learn one rules feature today, and then how to mail merge with Outlook. So I'll go ahead and get into the Word document that I have planned for us to work with off and on. And we're going to start by merging using addresses that are in a spreadsheet. But here's the part that, and I do have this in your handout, is actually an image that talks about formatting using Excel in a mail merge. Be sure you click that image because it is a hyperlink out to Microsoft's site that gives you some insight into formatting numbers for a mail merge, from a spreadsheet. But here's the part that I don't know if it's documented on there or not, but here's what I want you to keep in mind. And since raw data is the storage way of Excel, and I want the numbers that you saw in the salaries to come across, then you would need to change the type of Excel spreadsheet that you're connecting to. It's called a Microsoft Excel DDE, which is for dynamic exchange, data dynamic exchange. Here's what you would do. It sounds so technical, but it's just a matter of making a little change from your options. So here's a power tip here. When you go to the File tab, and the reason why I'm doing this again is because I know I am about to connect with a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet that has numbers in it, and the formatting, the $signs, commas, decimals, aren't coming over. And I want to get around that problem, and this is how it would work. File tab, and that opens up Backstage View, and you would need to come down to Options. When you get to Options, another dialog box opens, and in this Options dialog box, on the left-hand side are the categories of options. And right now I am on the General tab, but this option is on the Advanced, in the Advanced category. From the left, Advanced category. As you look to the right, there are different categories of options from within the Advanced. There's editing options, as you can see. And if I scroll on down, there's a cut, copy, paste. But what I'm looking for is the category called General. The category General. Now look at my list. I'll go ahead and spotlight this for you. I've gotten down to General, and under General there is an option that says Confirm File Format Conversion on Open. And you need to choose that, because choosing that will mean that when we use Excel as our source for our information that needs to be merged into the document, then when we use this, we'll be able to make the right choice about the type of Excel file so that the formatting does come over. And I'm going to go ahead and choose Confirm File Format Conversion on Open. And now I'll click on OK. So now that I've done that, I've got my form letter up in place. And I'll go ahead and put in the address block. I'm going to mailings by way of review. Starting the mailings. I have my letter up, and I'm ready to select the recipients, the address list. And this is in the mailings group, Start Mail Merge, select recipients. And as you learned last week, or as you may already know if you didn't come last week, you may know this because you've worked with mail merges before. There's the type a new list, which we're going into a little bit more detail today than we did last week. There's the use an existing list, which I'm using now. And then from there, I'm going to choose the Excel spreadsheet. Whenever you choose use an existing list, you will be placed in a default directory. In my case, it's data sources. But I need to get to the place where I have the file I want to use. And here's the one I want to use, Excel address list dates, salaries. Now look what we've got. And this is in your documentation. Again, when you go back and you look at your supporting documentation toward the end, there will be a reference to an Excel mail merge, and that image is a hyperlink back out to the details. And this dialog box is discussed. Now, this is important. When this box first comes up, it's just set to use an Olay DB database files. Well, that's not what we want. Be sure you come down to the lower left corner where it says Show All, because the type of source we need is Microsoft Excel related. And through this list, as I scroll through the list, these are all the different types that you can connect it to. The one we need says MS Excel worksheets via DDE. That's what we need. And then again, in case you're confused as to why, it's to ensure that the formatting that you see in the cell comes across rather than just the raw data. So that's to ensure that that does that. And don't forget, the show all is so that you could see every possible data source type that you could connect to. And in our case, it's a Microsoft Excel worksheet in a DDE form, which is a dynamic data exchange, is I believe the right wording for that acronym. So now I click on OK, and in a moment, and it's still processing. And I don't remember processing that long earlier in the week. Oh, that's not quite the message I wanted to hear. But here we go. So finally it's rolled on over to where it's supposed to be. And at this box, I'm being prompted to for a named or cell range that exists in the spreadsheet, but I want the entire spreadsheet. And by the way, in this workbook, there is only one spreadsheet. So there's nothing else for me to choose other than entire spreadsheet. I'll go ahead and click on OK. And then processing continues with this file. I can see at the top there's an issue with the program going on this morning. Okay, looks like we're good now. And as you look at the ribbon, there is, in the Start Mail Merge, there's the Select Recipients. We've already visited there. I've already selected the file that I wanted. Then there is the option to edit the recipient list. And then on the recipient list, I can see all the names of the people that are in that spreadsheet that I'm working with. And I'm scrolling over to the right, and there are those salaries. And we'll work more with this edit box too. So now I'm going to go ahead and put in the address block. Now when you click address block from the right and insert fields, you'll notice on the right it shows what it's going to pull as far as the address block goes. And that is correct. And the only time you would need to use match fields is if any of the fields coming from your source file, in my case Excel, don't match up to the fields that address block is pre-programmed to look for. For example, if I click match fields in the lower right corner, up pops my list. Now look very closely. I will spotlight this for you. Address block field, by the way, has these fields already programmed in them. But keep in mind that your source file might not have these same headings. For example, address block uses address 1, address 2 as fields. But I know that in my Excel spreadsheet, I don't have that wording. So for address 1, I'm going to, over on the right where it says not matched, click the down arrow and choose what address 1 matches up to in my source file. And it matches up to a field called street coming out of my Excel file. Now address 2, I have a suite number column in this Excel file. Some will have a suite and some don't have a suite number, but when the final merge is done, Microsoft Word will compensate for those that don't have a suite number, and there will be no extra blank. So I need to match address 2, which again is what address block is looking for. I need to match it up to the one that I've created, where there it is, suite number matches up to address 2. And then you would go through matching up any other fields if you needed to do that. I click OK. And see, now look at my address now. Now it says 200. Now in case you're wondering, well, that says 200. It should say suite 200. You know, if within this spreadsheet that I'm working with, I had written the words suite 200 in those cells, then that would have pulled that in, which is what I should do. But you get the idea, I hope, from here. Now that I've matched the fields up appropriately, I can click on OK, and address block just comes back, just as you saw last week. But what you didn't learn last week was about the importance of using the match field button, and now you do. I'm going to come down and I'm going to put in the greeting line, which again, this is on mailings in the right and insert fields, greeting line. And greeting line starts with Dear. It will pull the title of the person, whether that's Mr., Mrs., whatever you've got in your source file. And it's set to give a comma. Here it's a comma, but you could change it and make it a colon. And see, this is where match fields comes up again, because it might be that While greeting lines looking for a field called title, you might have called it something else. We haven't in this particular file, but again, choosing match fields would be important if you needed to match any of these up. All right, so now I'll click on OK, and I have my greeting line. So now I've got the greeting line. Now, while we're working on this mail merge, we have covered specifying through File and Options under the Advanced category, choosing a file type for when we're connecting so that we make certain that we don't get just the raw unformatted data, which we've covered that. But while we're in this mail merge, one of your learning objectives is to learn about using the rules feature in a mail merge, and we're about to come up on that as well. So let's first look at your first paragraph where it says we have some exciting news for you since you used Hudson Travel on X. Now on X, as you saw last week, is just a placeholder I've got there in order to pull out a specific field that I want. And I'm going to go ahead and double click the X, and don't forget that your other merge fields, not everything's going to be as neat and packaged as address block and greeting line, which are one-click shortcuts for us to get multiple fields in one, as in the case of the address block where we get their name, their street, suite number if that was applicable, city, state, and zip. But the travel date is not a button. It is in the Insert Merge Field options. So I'll go ahead and choose Insert Merge Field. And then we have a, I don't have that one in here because I pulled a different file, so we won't worry about that at the moment. But this particular file I connected, it does not have the travel date. But the point to your learning, though, is that a field that you want from within a source, then it would be from Insert Merge Field, and you'll need to pull that out. This one just doesn't have to happen to have the travel date. I'll leave this as is for the moment, because the next piece is you learning the basics of how to use the rules field. For example, in this mailing, I may want to set it up so that if there's anyone that lives in a certain city, if I want the if-else rule to go through and check for a specific city I specified, and if it's equal to that city, I want a message on that letter unique to people that live in that city. Otherwise, I want a different closing message, and you can use that with rules. But first, let's go back for a moment and go to editing the list that this document is connected to. Again, we're on mailings, going back to edit recipient list. And as I look at the recipient list, I'm scrolling over to look at the city and states. And in this case, I see some of the cities are Duluth, and I do have a special message just for those people that are in Duluth. But while we're here, and before we do the if-else routine, let's talk about the editing of your recipient list because it's part of your learning objectives today. You covered this in brief in your first class, but we'll cover it in more detail here. Now, as you look at it, everything is checkmarked, and on the left-hand side, your data source, it tells you exactly which file you're working from and where it's located at, where it's stored. Other things to know is the ability to deselect those that you don't want a letter generated for, or it could be labels for that matter, by deselecting those that you don't want. Now going down below, you have several options just beneath the addresses. You have an option for sort, If you click sort, then you can sort information by a specific field. By clicking the down arrow, you can see all the fields here, and I might want to sort by the last name. It would do this in ascending. And then a second order sort, I might want to sort by the first name. So if looking at your information in a certain order, it's helpful to you, which it can be as you go through choosing whom not to send the letter to. Then you can sort them in the order that best works for what you are looking for. And you can create up to 3 sorts. So last name will be primary, and if there are any duplicates in last name like Smith, then the first names would be in alphabetical order according to the first name. By clicking OK, and then this is now sorted. It's taken me back into the spreadsheet. We get back into Word. Okay, here we go. Now, looking at the screen, the last names are in alphabetical order. Then down below, there is an option for you to look for duplicates, and here's why you would want to do this at all. It may not come up for you at all, or if it does, it could be rare. But with some companies, they obtain their names and addresses sometimes from files that are exported from larger databases, or they may have information that is exported to a text file, and then you might wind up with the text file, you import it in, and there are duplicate records. And there could be 100 duplicate records because the data set wasn't cleaned up before you got it. So by choosing the Find Duplicates, you're able to go through and find out if there are any exact duplicate records so that you could eliminate them or at least deselect them before you run a massive merge. So by choosing Find Duplicates, the Find Duplicates box will pop up. If there are any, you will be told that there are. These do not have them. Then there's an option to find a specific recipient. In that case, there are many reasons why you want to do that. I might realize that a couple of these people, I know that their addresses have changed, but I'm not certain that the person who was helping me update those addresses actually fixed that before they gave me this file. So when you choose Find Recipient, you can key in who you're looking for. And then the In field is so you can pick the field you want this information searched from within. The title field is the default. And I'm going to choose, in fact, I'm going to do this as Peter, In field first name, and then choose Find First. And the reason why I couldn't find it is I put 2 T's instead of 1 for Peter. I know I have a Peter. No, I do have this person. Let's see here. Peter Boggins, I do. Let's find out what's happening. Oh, because he wasn't in the first name field. Yeah, I think I chose first name field. That's what it was. He wasn't in the first name field. It was in the last name field. So it's returned exactly what it should have because he wasn't in that particular field. So now, having chosen Find Next, and I look back at my screen, I can see the one I'm looking for now, which is James, and there's James Robert. And up above, there's Peter Boggins, but you can see Peter was in the first name field, not the last name field. And at this point, you could then remove this person from the mailing by deselecting. Other things to keep in mind about you being in this edit mode list is because when you're in edit mode, you can also add, you can make edits. Now, to make the edits, you will need to come down to the bottom left where it says Data Source and click the data source, because clicking the data source is then going to give you an option to edit. And when you choose Edit, you are activated back again into your list. Other things to keep in mind, just little things. The top of the screen, which you learned in the beginning class, each one of these fields has a down arrow so that you can sort ascending, descending, or sort for blanks, etc. All of these have that capability. Now, when you choose the file, again, coming back down to the bottom, the reason why there is a refresh button is if you've made any changes to the original file and it's not reflecting in this list, then a refresh goes out to the file you connected it to refresh it with the latest entries to that file. Now let's move forward. We've gone over the edit the recipient list and parts of it, sorting and filter, finding duplicates, finding a certain recipient. But the next part is you learning a little bit about rules. Rules are in the write and insert fields up at the top where it says rules. When you click the down arrow, there are a multitude of options. You won't cover them today, but there is a rule for an ask where you're being prompted, a fill in the blank. There is an if then else. We are going to use an if then else routine, because what I'm going to do with the if then else is check for, or have the program check for, any of these people that are in that Excel list. Check for anyone who lives in the city of Duluth. If they live in Duluth, they're going to get a message unique to them. Otherwise, it would become another message altogether. But you'll need to place your cursor where you want this to occur, because whatever message that you are placing in your rule, it's going to be printed wherever your cursor is active. So I've gone down below the last paragraph and clicked, and now I'm going back up. I'm still on mailings. I'm going back up to rules. I'm going to choose the if then else, and when you choose, you will see it will first tell you the field name, or a field name. You get to choose which field name, because we're testing a specific field for a specific value, and you will need to change that field name. By clicking the down arrow, here's the list of all the fields that are back there in that Excel spreadsheet that I connected to. And I am checking the field called city. I am looking for equal to, so I'm going to leave it at the default. And I'm looking for Duluth, anyone who lives in the city of Duluth. All right, now this is an if then else routine. So don't worry if you don't have any programming background. You don't need it to understand the basics of it. It's just simply setting up a condition that if this condition is true, then do this. Otherwise, do this that's at the bottom. So thus the terminology if then else. All right, so I've got the if part set up. If the city's equal to Duluth, then below is the insert this text. And I'm going to put in, we have a new travel office in Duluth. All right, otherwise, I want it to say something else. Visit us on the web at so it's going to check for Duluth equals city equals Duluth. If so, we have a new travel office in Duluth. Please visit our new office during open house. And otherwise, visit us on the web at hudsontravels.com. Now look at my screen. My screen, and I haven't even performed the merge yet, but notice that in that last paragraph, says visit us on the web at hudsontravels.com. But now what we're going to do is preview the merge and see if it is picking up everything the right way. So preview the results. Now remember, preview results isn't performing the merge, it's giving you an opportunity to take a quick look. Now as I look at this merge, I do see that the spacing between these lines is too much. It's more than one line. If that happens to you, select that information, go to the Home ribbon, and in the paragraph group, click the dialog box launcher, the small arrow in the lower right corner, and look to see what your spacing is. And I can see that this is set at 1.15. I need it to be single. And also I see that the after value, which is how much space there is after a line, is set to 10 point, which is almost a full additional return, because a return, just as a side note, a full return is measured at 12 points. I'm going to set that to 0, and now click on OK just so I can get that cleaned up. As you can see, it says, Dear Mr. James, he lives in Superior. So let's look at our first one. And it says, visit us on the web at hudsontravels.com. But as we look back up at mailings, we want to go through each letter and take a look, which is why you have to the right of the preview results button, you have the navigation arrows to navigate singularly, next record, previous record, or just go to the first record or go to the very last record. I'm going to go one by one, and I'm looking at Jennings. He does live in Duluth, and let's look and see. And there it is. We have a new travel office in Duluth. Please visit our new office during open house. So everywhere that someone lives in Duluth, that would be the message that would be typed into that document. So again, these rules are on the mailings group, and I used the if, then, else rule. Now I want to show you one more thing, one more thing as it relates to the file that we're working with, I'm going to open up a new document for this. Hopefully the taste of working with rules is giving you some ideas. We'll be having probably another forms class soon, and you can also use these rules, the ask, the fill-in, prompts. Those come in great. Also when you're doing electronic forms and someone else is filling out the form and you want messages to pop up as they move from field to field. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons why you would use that. Okay, I'm going to a new document for this. I won't put any verbiage in this one, so we can make it a little quicker because I want to continue to work with the Excel spreadsheet. Going back to mailings, and on the mailings I'm going to connect to a spreadsheet. We still haven't performed an Outlook contacts mail merge yet, but we will. Nor have we used the type a new list. We're getting to that. Use an existing list again, and I'll go back to that file. And there's my OLA message, show all. going down to Microsoft Excel worksheet via DDE. And we'll have to go through that same rotation again here in just a moment. The only thing I want to demonstrate as this comes up is for you to be able to see that when I choose the salary field, which is formatted for currency back in the spreadsheet, that it will come in correctly. And you won't get these error messages at work, we hope. We're almost there. In fact, as we wait, you're welcome to put it in the question box. Have any of you had those problems with Excel where dates didn't come over correctly and numbers didn't come in correctly? Hopefully, if that's been the case, this will resolve it for you. From what you've learned today. I'm just matching fields quickly. Now on this one, which is a short little letter I'm starting for you to be able to see, I'm now going to the Insert Merge field, and I'm pulling the Salary field, And of course I'm going to get the field with the chevrons around it, the double arrows, but I won't see the end result, of course, until I preview the results. As I preview the results, you can see that it has kept my currency, my entire format for that number because of what we did earlier by going to File and going to Options and to Advanced in order to go down to General and make the choice that we made, which was to confirm file format conversion on Open. Now before I finish out on this, I wanted to give you a tip about this. If you have other Excel spreadsheets where that's not an issue for you, it's cut and dry, it's names, addresses, suite numbers, etc. You're not bringing over maybe zip codes or numeric data, things of that nature, then it's cut and dry pretty much. And in that case, you wouldn't need to be prompted with this confirm file format conversion. So don't forget to come back here to File, Options, to the Advanced category, come on down here to General, and be sure to deselect the Confirm File Format Conversion on Open. So now if I look at each one of these, everybody, I can see their salaries. All right, so next step is to perform a mail merge using the names and addresses that are in your Outlook contacts. And I'll close this letter. And I'm hoping that you're learning some things you didn't know before. It's slow today. And mail merge is one of those things too where we don't necessarily do those kinds of things every day, but if a glitch is going to happen, it seems like when you're out there doing mail merging and working with sources like an Excel spreadsheet, it seems inevitable that something wants to go awry about 5 minutes before it's time to have it delivered to someone. All right, let's get another file up here. All right, here we go. Going back to mailings. And as I reviewed with you in the very beginning, mail merging is a multiple set of steps, 5 of them. You know, 1, you have to have your main document, the letter or the labels. And that 2, selecting it to a source for the addresses. I'm going to choose select recipients. But you notice that one of those options is to choose from Outlook contacts. So as you choose Outlook, there you might have more than one profile. That's another thing about doing this from because I don't know if you are, if you're working with different email profiles. You know, do you log into the same? Computer? Do you share a computer with someone? If so, you may have a different profile. But before I go further with this, in working with a mail merge for email, is that, you know, the very first step is opening or creating the Word document that you're planning to send out, and then the second part is, which is where we are, is selecting the recipients. You also need to make certain of this, and this is from Microsoft. You need to make certain, they say that it's important that your Outlook and your Word be the same version. They're encouraging that if you've got Microsoft Word 2013, you need to have Outlook 2013 in order for it to go smoothly. So now if I click on OK, clicking on OK, then I'm presented with the different folders that I have. Yours may not look just like mine. Don't know what folders you have, but when you look at mine, I have one that's LinkedIn, because I've imported all my LinkedIn addresses, all my LinkedIn contacts into Outlook. Now that might be something you would be interested in doing. It's not part of your learning today, but you can import your LinkedIn contacts into your Office program. I have it in my Outlook, actually. That's where I imported them in. Then I have a contacts folder that I use for practice. But in your case, you're going to choose those people, contacts, that you want to mail to. And I'm clicking on OK. And then see, you get that same familiar look, that table layout look. Get that same look that you do when you are connecting to an Excel or even an Access. It's still this layout. And then you would do as you've done before. I'm going to sort this by first name by clicking on the first name column, and I'm going to deselect these people I don't want to get an email, since we are in practice mode. And they'll all wonder, why is she sending me this email? And I'm using Julie, Perrine, and myself in this routine. So let's see. Yes, those are the 2 I want. And then clicking OK. And then you would go back through that same process again of inserting your blocks. If address block matches up to everything that's in your file, whether Excel or Word. But now I've just chosen insert address block. And if I had any matching of fields to do, this would be the time to do it. I won't go through that again because you've been taught that already today. And the greeting line. And if it had to have any match fields because it doesn't coincide with what you have, you would do that. Then, of course, the rest of it would be like any mail merge. If there are other fields that you need to place into this document, then you would choose it from Insert, Merge Field. And then you would do as you usually do, preview the results to see how things look. And the final piece is to finish the merge. So by choosing Finish Merge, you have the option to edit individual documents, as we discussed last week, which is to let you look at those all those records and make any edits that you want to make. But if you were comfortable that everything is good, but that's never me. I'm never comfortable that everything is completely solid, so I do like to go through that step before I actually finish that merge, and especially if it's going to be an email merge. I do want you to keep this in mind about the sending of the email messages, is that you cannot attach a file to the email, which I really hope that Microsoft will change. Because all of us who send emails, we're used to attaching files, but that's not an option when you are creating email mail merges. So now if I'm confident I've gone through everything, through the edit individual documents, made any adjustments, then I am ready to send the email messages. When I choose send email messages, you will receive another box, and it says to email address. An email address is a field that is in your contacts database in Microsoft Outlook. Because if you've ever looked, I'm sure you have, whenever you've opened up your contacts in Microsoft Outlook, you know that everything you're filling out, those are all fields, and they all have their specific field name. Then the subject line waits for you to put that in. The mail format is HTML, plain text. Plain text is without formatting. And then whether or not to send all records, just the current record, or from certain range of records that you've merged. I'm going with all. And right now the message I'm getting is just that a program is trying to access my email address information stored in Outlook. And, you know, am I aware of that? Is that what I want to do? And then, of course, I would allow access, and then allow, and then I could continue with that, and then the emails would be sent for me. I won't finish the email up, so I don't have to flip us over into email since we're running close to time, because I did want to finish up with you knowing how to create name and address list on the fly, which you covered some the first time around, and also how to take a text file and convert it into an Excel file so that you could then use that Excel file as a source for names and addresses in your mail merge. And that's what we're going to finish on, those two things. I did go ahead and choose allow so you can see that final message. It is showing that it's trying to send an email on my behalf, and it is in process mode. All right, so now let me get to a new document for us. I'm going to abort this. There we go. Now let's get to a different document. I'll just do a clean document here. So assuming your letter's up, etc., and it's written, and you want to connect it, mailings, select recipients. There's the type new list, and the type new list will let you modify the fields that it defaults to and put in records. So if you came to my office and you handed me a sheet of paper with 50 names and addresses that have never been put anywhere, which could have just been off business cards that you have, and now we've got to create a source file for that and the mail merge. So you can do this all in one sweep, and then you would have the file to use for later. So let's start, before we put anything into it, if you are starting in this way, on in the box down at the bottom, there's the option to create a new entry, delete entry, find entries, but the customized columns is important to you when you don't want every single field that is chosen for us when we start creating an address list from this way of creating. Choosing customized columns gives you an opportunity to eliminate all the fields that are there or add some of your own. So for example, title, I'm going to leave, company 1, address line 2, but I might want to rename address line 2 and call it suite number. But it's a matter of click on it, and then choose the rename button, type the name, click on OK, city, state, zip code, country, region. If I don't think I'm going to be using the home phone number, then you could eliminate it by choosing home phone and choosing the delete button in the upper right. In the case of what I'm creating here, I might want a field for the salary of these people if it's for employees, but the idea is this, the point rather, is you can add new fields. In the top right corner, click Add. A box pops up wanting to know the name of your field. So if it was salary for these employees, then I can click salary. It'll go in beneath where I was, and you can move that around by clicking on that field and then to the right hand side choosing move down or move up wherever you think that it needs to be. That would work best for you when you're using this file later on. Then when you click on OK, you'll be ready to put in your new entries. Your cursor will be blinking in that first line, and then you just tab from field to field. And I'm going to make up a salary, people. No, this is not my salary. It's me dreaming that this was my salary. It's dream on. And then the address. And see, I would just keep typing in everything. And then new entry every time I want a new entry, and then click OK when complete. And I hate to keep typing like this. See, oh goodness, could be any more. Now, when I press tab on the last field, I get a new record, and it would just be a repetitive process. After getting in these names and addresses, when you click on OK, you will be prompted to save your file. And what you want to know about this method of creating the names and addresses in a file on the fly is that the final format is an MDB, which is an access database. That's the default file type that you'll be saving into. And then, of course, you need to pick what directory you want it to go to. It comes up wanting to know what type of file that this is. And it is right. And I'll finish that up. And then one final run. I think we're 1 minute over, but maybe I should stop and open up for questions. I was going to show you how to convert a text file. That was sort of a bonus anyway. So let's flip over to Q&A. Yes.
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions. The first
All right, let's have them.
The first one is from Terry. I hope I'm saying your name right, Terry. And she asks, do you import all the contacts in your Outlook, or do you import only those in a group?
Well, now the contacts, I think there may be two answers to that question. When performing an email for contacts, maybe what you need, I'm understanding you, maybe you're thinking, I don't want to send the email addresses to everybody, but maybe you just want to have a certain group. Are you thinking in terms of creating maybe a specialized contact database with groups of names?
That's what I would guess.
Okay, because if that's the case, which that's what I had on the screen a moment ago, so without going into my Outlook, my private Outlook here, when you go to people, and I don't know what version of Outlook some of you are working with, but the newer versions of Outlook, instead of it calling it contacts, it calls it people, but it's still contacts. Well, I know. And when you get into your people, it still says contacts. And over on the left, it will say contacts. And when you right-click on contacts, you can create a new folder, and you could call it what you wanted. Earlier, mine was called Contact Practice, just so I can use it for this. And I was able to choose just that one that had 13 people in it.
Okay.
Because you can copy names and addresses from one contact file to another.
Right. Right. Okay, we have another question here from Rhonda. She says, I have a question about using the Microsoft Outlook mail merge. You mentioned that we are unable to attach files to emails. I have tried to use hyperlinks and have been unsuccessful. While keeping the hyperlink in the email, I was wondering if the hyperlink drops when the merge happens.
Oh, that's a good question. And I don't have the exact answer because I would have thought the hyperlink would have stayed because it's just a text reference that as long as it precedes with the www, it's Rhonda, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Rhonda, have you seen that happen where you did the merge to Outlook, you had your www, which is what makes it the hyperlink after you press the space bar. Did you see where in the merge it went to a static piece of text rather than a link?
Oh,
have you seen that happen firsthand?
Shoot, Rhonda, I just got your first question out of the way, and it took away whatever you just typed. I hope that was you. Or if it was someone else asking a question, I am so sorry, but I need you to type it in again.
All right, we'll take the next one then. I want to make sure because if that's happening, I want to see if there's a resolve. Okay. Might not have it today, but. Thank
you, Rhonda. She says the hyperlink didn't stay after the final merge. Okay, so it didn't stay. Did it disappear altogether, or was it simply not clickable? Like the text was still there, but it wasn't clickable anymore. She believes it disappeared.
Okay. Now, Rhonda, that's going to make me very curious. You know I'm going to have to go try it after I get off the phone because it's going to bug me. But that will only help you in the end, Rhonda. So I'm going to research that. I would not have thought that to be.
Yeah. Rhonda, can you type in what version of Outlook you're using?
Yeah, that would be good too. And that's, while you're typing that in, Rhonda, I would be curious if there's any relativity at all. Do you have the same version of Outlook that you do of Word?
Could be a mismatch there.
Microsoft's in their documentation, one of their little notes says important. It actually says important. Needs to be Word 2013 and Outlook 2013.
Okay.
Whether or not that has relativity or not.
She says we were just upgraded today, but we were using 2007. But yes, they were the same versions.
Okay. I'll research it for us.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that should be. Maybe it is. There are a lot of things in Microsoft that I'll say I don't think that should be, but it is. But it is.
It is what it is, huh?
It is what it is. Okay. Anybody else have a question?
That was it so far. Anyone else want to type one in real quick? Okay, great. Rhonda is says you can email me with an answer if one is found.
Oh, I would love to do that. Just
because she's going to be like a dog on a bone, Rhonda. She's not going to let go of this.
I won't, Rhonda, because it just annoys me. In fact, Rhonda, rather than you publicize your email address, you could email me at train, TRAIN, at mostraining.com. Now, while you're writing questions, if there are any more, did you learn, raise your hand, is fine on this one, did you learn anything new from this second level of mail merging that you didn't know before? What about the connecting to a certain file type by going to File and Backstage View and Advanced to choose the type of conversion file format?
No hands yet.
Well, hopefully you learned something new.
No, that was a whopper.
Did you all go on coffee break and now just come back?
No. They're saying no. Definitely learned a lot more.
I'm just teasing. Good. I'm glad you did. Glad you did. Any other questions?
I don't think so. And given
Okay.
the time, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
All right,
Oh,
then.
wait, Andrea says, we're here and we learned a lot. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrea. We needed confirmation. So, thank you, Andrea. I hope you all have a good rest of the week.
Oh,
We have more goodies planned for y'all coming up, so stay tuned.
exactly.
We
Okay.
have advanced tables coming up, advanced word tables.
That is correct. That is next week, next Thursday, the 21st. And
Yep, I think it is. Yeah.
later today, it should be available on the site to register for. So, okay, I'm going to swipe the screen back, Donna.
All right. I'm watching for that message, so I can turn it back over. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, so now y'all should be seeing all of our web addresses and social media addresses. These are the various ways that you can get in touch with All Things Admin at our site, our Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube addresses, and also Donna's site, mosttraining.com, and her various social media outposts as well. And just for grins, we will go ahead and say train at mostraining.com. So it's her domain name, train at mostraining.com is how you can reach Donna after today's webinar as well. So as with any crash course, our goal today was to arm you with the tools and strategies you need to take back to your computer to implement what you've learned. But it does require you to be committed to the implementation process. So we encourage you to find ways to immediately implement what you've learned today, share it with a colleague, and review it again tomorrow. That's the best way to ingrain what you have learned today into your permanent memory, and you'll be able to use it to save precious time for years to come. We want to thank each of you for investing your time and energy to join us for this presentation. This concludes our webinar. Thanks again for participating, and we look forward to seeing you in future training sessions.